As you have heard from Bernd this morning, EULER is the name of our new machine, enhancing our computing computing capacities. And EULER means erweiterbarer, umweltfreundlicher ETH-Rechner. And erweiterbar has two sides. One is the hardware side, which will be quite extendable, but the other thing is also the software side. If you see at this building, we are inside this building, it has different levels of building, but also different level of building history. When Semper planned this house, this was an open court where we are in, and this has been filled. The building was planned in the 1850s and built 1860s. And 100 years ago, university building next door was built with a couple. And then for compatibility reasons, they had a couple here as well. So we are compatible with the university and the MIT. Oops. Next time I use Beamer class again. So if you have a traditional cluster, this is the kind of the old building. Neat. We have hardware, we have an operating system, applications on it, to bind everything together, a management system to deploy the operating system, to do the housekeeping, to have address resolution, user accounting authorization, and so on. And you have a batch system, in our case, IBM platform era stuff. So in EULER, we have quite, if you keep this level of abstraction, quite a more difficult thing. Quite a big part of the machine is traditional hardware operating system application. But we have some of the nodes, and Bernd told you that all nodes except of two are the same. They are blades. We come to this in detail in the next slide. Have a hypervisor on it, in our case ESXi 5.5 by VMware, also called vSphere, the whole thing, and VMware vCenter. The machines running on the top of this vCenter are the administrative nodes or service nodes, or however you want to call it. We have a short glimpse on them afterwards. There are also the login nodes are virtualized. Here, the whole batch system, big part of the management. Not entirely anything. And we have on this vCenter running another vCenter. So on one or on two hosts controlled by this vCenter, there is another vCenter on the top of it hosting the VCloud. And the VCloud is again hosting other hypervisor machines, providing it this cloud service. So we went into production, officially still beta, in 1st of April. No joke. With this part, so already virtualized head nodes. The vCenter vCloud has been ready since Friday evening, and then the VMware specialists went to holidays. So I have a vCloud without documentation. But anyway, I will try to give a kind of demo or first glimpse. So back to the hardware. The main components, if you break that down from what we've seen just above, in the first slide, or in the second slide, is this hardware with HP blade system, Cisco network. This will be looked at a bit closer. As well here, as management system, we have XCAT. I will go into XCAT a few minutes ago. And IBM platform LSF as batch system to be complete. Operating system is almost everything is CentOS 6.5. But since VCenter or vSphere is still a bit Windows-centric, not as much as it used to be, the vCenters are running on Windows 2012 server. And for the virtualization, as I said, the whole thing is called vSphere 5.5, and these are these components. All of it, latest version. So the hardware, the shaded components, they do not play a role in the current virtualization. As soon as everything is running, I will install, and as soon as we have upgraded the InfiniBand firmware, I will try to get the InfiniBand drivers for the ES6s and have a look what we really can do with it. As far as I know, VMware can use InfiniBand, but you cannot use this thing called vMotion, meaning relocating a virtual machine which is running and used without interruption. So we have this blade system, as Bernd already mentioned. The most of the AS6s are running on the fat nodes because memory is much more a restriction than compute. All the images of the virtual machines are running on NetApp, NFS. That works fine until now. Just 2 days ago, LSF, or a user using LSF in a big way, made it a bit slow. But I think we can solve that. And we have this Cisco Nexus 6004 with so-called fabric extender. So the switch is like one of these huge switches, but distributed, so that we go with 4 times 10 gigabyte Ethernet to all blade chassis, and the blade chassis are connected to the main switch via the native fabric protocol. So that makes things a bit more low latency, and the good thing is the switch is administered by our networkers, and I think even paid by our networkers. So it's part of the integral ETH network system. And that brings me to an additional point of EULER. EULER is a collaborative effort. EULER is not a machine just built by the HPC group, isolated. GSGS it provided the location, and Johnny some of the administrative things. The networkers are here with the network, and so on. So, speaking about management system, this has to do with the cloud. XCAT is, or XCAT2, is an administration tool which has been developed by IBM in the early phase for AIX, and then it has been enlarged for the famous Roadrunner cluster in Los Alamos, and the National Lab put a lot of code in it, but they demanded that IBM is putting it open source since public money is in it. So it's an open source product. You just can download it and install it. It's not very complicated to install. It can provide virtual machines and physical machines, so Red Hat, all kind of Linuxes, but also IIX. I didn't try that. Nobody wanted to buy me a power machine. And I didn't try it with Windows. With Windows, it works, of course, only with images, while the standard CentOS and Red Hat installation is scripted, but you can also use disk images and deploy disk image. But you can also automatically install the ESX with the XCAT, and on the top of your virtual system, you can install the virtual machine. Same thing with KVM or CVM. It's already in the end the oldest virtual machines. I think 72 or something, 1972. XCAT has different modes, not so interesting for us at the moment. It also handles the lights out management, the out of band management. It's made for IBM. There are some plugins for HP. They haven't been upgraded for a long time. I think we need in future to invest some improvement in those modules. But it works, and it also provides DNS. In our case, Stephen had to modify it a bit so that we can have all DNS entries upstreams as well. HTTP didn't test yet, DHCP, TFTP, everything you need to run a cluster. So, and you can use it for virtualization, and I thought I'd do something technical here. So the typical installation for a node, whatever a node is, you say node set, then your node name, which is in our case E1, and then 3 digits. And then you have prepared already your images. Image is not to take literally. It's more kind of repo where your stuff is linked to your in ESX and in Red Hat case Kickstart file. ESX, by the way, is using Kickstart to install, Kickstart-like thing to install. And if you have prepared that already, you just do that. Repower your machine. I didn't show this here. Also from the command line. And then you wait for the ESX. You wait about 5 minutes, and then it's installed. And then you can produce your virtual machine from the command line as well, using an XCAT command, which is the same whatever the underlying virtual system is. So if you have KVM or VMware as we have, it's the same. It's the same command. Groups is a typical feature of XCAT. You have kind of groups or tags where you put your machines in. So all VMs have the tag VM in our case. And then you make your VM also over. That means you reserve the space in the storage, in our case in the NFS. You set the space of the image where you install your operating system. You set the memory, how many CPUs you want. These two values can be changed by change VM. So, and then you have to put your MAC address into the database. I forgot to say this. XCAT is using an SQLite database. If you feel bored with that, you can upgrade it to Postgres or MySQL. I think you'd rather make yourself unhappy, but no, for a distributed system, of course, it makes sense. And since normally a MAC address is generated while making the VM, you can also set the VM before, the MAC address before you create the VM. But then you have to do the bookkeeping yourself so that you don't have conflicts with your MAC addresses. And in that case, I want to have a specific IP address. Otherwise, I can leave that to the DHCP address. Then I have to make the host file, make the DHCP, two different commands just for space reasons on one line. And then I'm again on the outset here to the CentOS image, reboot the VM, and then the CentOS is installed, in our case, as a Brutus compute node or Brutus login node. We still use more or less the same settings as for Brutus for the machines. So extremely easy to do, in my opinion, even easier than over the GUI, which I will show in short time. So XCAT can install this hypervisor and so on. I showed that. What it cannot do is to do load balancing, to do vMotion, scheduling resources, in the sense of if you have two, in our case, two LSF machines, you don't want to have them on the same hypervisor. They always should be on two different hypervisors, because now and then somebody turns off ESX, happened to me Tuesday. And you cannot monitor the VMs as the VCenter can. So for this, you need a VCenter, but in fact, for a simple environment, you can use XCAT to provide your VMs. You normally would use then KeyVM and not expensive ESXs, but should work. So what are my experiences with XCAT in a partly virtualized environment? So it's a really powerful tool, and it's scalable. You can generate service nodes. We currently have XCAT installed on two management, or at the moment just on one, pizza, not pizza boxes, they're double pizza boxes, pizza boxes family size. Since otherwise we would have a kind of hen and egg problem, as Stephen calls it. We need XCAT to install the SXs where the vCenter is on. If you have this also on virtualized machine, how to install this machine. But we don't have this yet, but we will have it for the next, for EULER 2, of course. We will have virtual machines doing the XCAT stuff, but taking the information from an XCAT master, which is on a bare metal machine. XCAT is rather complex. It's something for CLI fans like we are. It's not something for GUI pussies. It has a steep learning curve. Steep learning curve means also that you learn a lot in a short time. It's open source. As I told you, it's written in Perl. Some people like Perl. I come from a Perl environment, therefore I didn't learn it because there were a lot of gurus around me. Now, of course, some Perl is not the problem. It's a client-server model. Quite nicely done, but quite complex. The best documentation is in the code. You know what that means, and so you know what that means as well. You can write a lot of plugins to it. It's quite not straightforward, but not too too complicated. It's not a plug-and-run system like RUX, except you have IBM hardware, and the templates for IBM hardware are delivered for free. And except for vSphere. The vSphere integration was really plug and run after I have installed the VMware SDK, which is in Perl as well. This was a bit of pain because sometimes it used some module versions which were a bit lower than the latest one, or some a bit higher than the Red Hat ones. So this VCenter, what does it? I said it already. So I think we can go to the demo, okay, of a VCenter. For that, I need to access my nice, yeah, and I don't see this anymore. Increases. I need the VPN first. Without VPN, nothing. So, where is this? Your network. No, that's the wrong one. No. Sorry, I wasn't aware that. For the Cisco tool, you had that. I don't use the Cisco tool. I use the built-in tool, which is normally shown in the task list, but it's not. Oh, yeah. Okay. Just a second. Works faster like that. If it does. Okay, so I connect to the VPN and then I replug in that one. That's fastest. Yeah, that's why Sergio. Oops. That's why Sergio used a movie. Just waiting that it asks for a password. Oh, yeah. It doesn't want to connect me to the VPN. Don't know why.
Use another computer if it was connected to the VPN?
No, it's the connection to the VPN. I use another account, so. And then, no, it seems that we have a problem with VPN. Okay, I don't show it. The VCloud I can show without VPN. So. Sorry about that. So the vCenter more or less gives a GUI for all these tasks. We can also have monitor and monitoring in the past our servers. It was very nice. We have a nice console. Until recently, the whole lot only worked over Windows. Now with the web GUI, it works also very well with the Mac. The console then is done over HTML5, but there is a deep dependency on the Adobe Flash Player and an actual Adobe Flash Player, which is not available for Linux. So bad luck, but fortunately Google Chrome has an actual Adobe fake in it. So with Google Chrome, you can use the GUI also from Linux. Experiences with the VCenter, I mean, I know the VCenter for years now, but not as a VCenter admin, just as a sysadmin creating machines. It still needs some Windows to run on it. Although there are now Linux appliances available, it looks like you can have now a Windows-free vCenter. The CLI of the vCenter and of the ESXs are very versatile. There are even some things you need to use the CLI, but the commands are very long, so ESX CLI, network, add, and so on. And in the end, you need some flag arguments with -d or -h or whatever anyway, so it's a bit weird. But just look it up in the documentation. It's very well documented. You have a flat learning curve, which means you can do a little bit just instantly, but until you understand the thing, it takes a long, long time. It was very good for me that I started with CLI and the ESXs doing a lot of things over the CLI. It gives you much a better understanding if you just use the GUI in the beginning. It's proprietary, of course, but the API is quite open. The SDK, the Perl SDK is nothing to discuss except what I said. There's also a PowerShell API, but I think I don't use that. So, coming to VClouds, as I said, VClouds is something completely new for me. So let's go to the VCloud director and show you what I know, which is not really much. Okay. I just adjusted the... So, I mean, looks quite nice. What's really nice for us is that you can have different organizations. You can have a multi-tenant system, or said in good German, mandantenfähiges System. There is no exact English translation for that. Which means that we can give a customer a part of that cloud and tell him, do what you want, you cannot break it. Give him an isolated network, just one access edge, here, edge gateway, and do what you want. The organization looks then, I think that's the most interesting thing at the moment, like that. So what they can have are virtual apps. That's what Wipke just explained at the top level. You can also build your clusters, or we can provide templates for apps, for servers, or for kind of virtual clusters or compute farms or whatever. So, really nice thing. No clue about the API yet. That will be the big task, because somehow you have to automate the whole lot as well. There are some scriptings inside the vCloud, I mean inside the GUI as well. But as I said, the system was installed by our VMware specialist. He is on holidays now and handed over the system to me Friday evening. But what do you think we use it in the future? In the very early futures, to run, used for long-running jobs, already mentioned by Bernd. So those guys who don't know what checkpointing is, checkpointing will be done by VMware, and we run and move around the machines. Then to deploy kind of application services, software as a service, MATLAB will be a good candidate, probably MATLAB under Windows, Maple, or some Windows machines for people who need some big Windows machine or special Windows machine you cannot have. Then we have to define the business cases with our users. That's part of the research IT. As Bernd showed, this consulting part. We have to promote the whole thing. We have to work together with researchers group team and other teams to see how we can make it interoperability, can set up interoperability. And what I think could be very interesting is our large-scale deployments, as Wibke showed us with this Rosetta protein prediction case. And what I would like to have is a kind of integration into XCAT and LSF, so that we could, that users not only can provide batch jobs, but also provide kind of virtual machine jobs, distributing the machines by the batch system. So these are some of the future things. EULER is work in progress. Unfortunately, this picture has been taken a couple of years ago, because nowadays it looks much nicer, much more cranes. I mean, not only the wrong one, but the building cranes here. And you have been in the building, which is not here yet. So Zurich is work in progress as well. Yeah, questions?